all your dishes. Make note of all good wishes. Say goodbye to the landlord for me. That son of a bitch has always bored me. Throw out them LA papers and moldy box of vanilla wafers. Adios to all this concrete. Gonna get me some dirt road back street. If I can just get off of this LA freeway without getting killed or caught. Down that road in a cloud of smoke to some land I ain't thought about, and it's here's to you, old skinny Dennis. The only one I think I will miss. I can hear that old bass singing, sweet and low like a gift you're bringing. Oh, Susanna, don't you cry, babe. Love's a gift that's surely handmade. We got something to believe in. Don't you think it's time we're leaving? If I can just get off of this LA freeway without getting killed or caught. Down that road in a cloud of smoke to some land I ain't bought.
I'm proud to present the ASCAP Lifetime Achievement Award to Guy Clark for his outstanding accomplishments as a songwriter, recording artist, and musical mentor in the field of country music.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is breathtaking. Susanna, my wife Susanna and I moved here 27 years ago. I figure another 10 or 15, I'll probably break even. Without wonderful friends like these, Rodney, Lyle, and Vince, 1,000 others too numerous to mention, this wouldn't be possible, and especially without Susanna. Thank you very much.
Guy was madly in love with Susanna because she challenged him all the time. You know, he couldn't get anything over on her, and he was confident enough to just eat it up.
From my point of view, he was the smartest guy in the room. And when Townes came in, it was, you know, it was a toss-up between who was the smartest guy in the room then. Susanna would tell you she was the smartest person in the room.
I would suspect Guy Clark came out of the womb knowing exactly who he was. You know, he just had that aura about him that was, it was commanding.
Hill country honky-tonk and read a balloon. Every beer joint in town has played the fool here. Backsliding, barrel riding, read a balloon. There ain't a cowboy in Texas would not ride a bull for you.
Another thing about Guy is he's a real good driver. We play a lot together, and we rent cars, and he has yet to let me drive. He will not let me drive, and I'm an expert driver, you know.
Day before that was...
Play the song. Play Mr. Bud Mr. Go.
Yeah, you're gonna have to be quiet. I'm talking to my TR now.
What is a TR?
My TR is my tape recorder. You see what I mean? Okay, TR?
Hey, T.
Earlier we were talking about the Chinese and all and everything, and the difference between screaming and not screaming, and whether it's heard and not heard. And this is it, and so we're...
Hey, Susan, you gotta turn that thing back to the last place it makes sense to start over.
Okay, TR. I'm Susanna Clark. I grew up an Okie debutante from a high society, artistic, and very religious family. I have 8 siblings, and we're all close. I even shared an apartment with my sister Bunny while we worked at our family's art center. But now I live in Nashville with my husband Guy and our best friend, Townes Van Zandt. Guy and I paint, and all 3 of us write songs. We're starving artists, but we have each other. Guy and Townes became best friends down in Texas back in the mid-'60s. Houston was like the Greenwich Village of Texas.
And Jerry Jeff was around then, and Townes was around, and pretty crazy. When I first met Townes, it was mid-'60s, I guess. And we were all playing at the coffee house called Sand Mountain Coffee House, which just served coffee. And there was also a place called The Jester, which was a bar. Singers and songwriters and folk singers could get on stage behind a microphone and play for the folks. You know, that was a goal, to get an audience. Express yourself to them. When I met Townes, I think he'd written 2 or 3 songs. He was the first guy I ran across who was doing this, who had a real grasp of the English language. He was a storyteller, you know. Anyway, I'd never really run across anyone quite like that. And we became friends because we kind of had the same sense of humor. I think he liked my songwriting as I did his.
Guy had a day job at a TV station, and he built and fixed guitars, but all he really wanted to do was write songs. Around this time, Guy met Susan Spacek. She was a folk singer. Guy was 24, Susan was 18. They got married in June of 1966. They had to get married because Susan was expecting Guy's baby, and of course, Guy was going to do the right thing. 6 months later, their son, Travis Carroll Clark, was born.
That was about the time I got a job as the assistant art director at Channel 13 in Houston.
In 1969, I was living in Oklahoma City with my sister.
I'd gone to Oklahoma City to see her sister Bunny, and I'd met her at a club. Townes and I were playing a place in Oklahoma City called the Sword and Stone. Townes and I made a deal to come hang out on Sunday, just go over to her apartment and visit. Well, we went over there, and she said, my sister's coming by, and her sister was Susanna. That was the first time I'd met her.
I walked into my living room where Guy and Townes sat on my couch. They looked exhausted and skinny. I asked them if they wanted vitamins.
She came in, and we started talking about painting.
I was painting a prairie. I got stuck and said half out loud, I can't make the foreground come forward in this painting. Guy got up and he walked over to me and said, you can do this and that, and you can mix this color with that color.
Like I told her, I thought she ought to put an elephant going over the hill, just its butt, you know. But she could paint. That was the thing.
I liked Guy. He knew something about art, and that impressed me. He was also tall and handsome. But he was Bunny's boyfriend. Guy and Bunny tried to keep up a long-distance relationship. He came to visit Bunny, he wrote to her, he sent her small gifts. But back in Houston, Guy's life had fallen apart, and Susan took Travis and left him.
And I was lost, looking for something. And I had a friend who lives, Minor Wilson, who had a guitar shop in San Francisco. I just kind of moved in with him. You know, I slept in the shop on the vacant end of it, and just kind of worked with him building guitars for almost a year, living there. At that time in '69, you know, there was a lot of drugs and a lot of Hell's Angels. And I mean, it was too much for a country boy like me, you know. I kind of needed to go back to take care of my wife and child. But anyway, I was trying to be responsible and go back to Houston.
Bunny had problems of her own. She was pregnant and miserable and terrified to break the news to our mother. So when Guy asked Bunny to join him on the road trip back to Texas, she jumped at the chance to get away.
What we decided to do was to get a drive-away car, and we drove across the southwestern United States in that car. And at some point, it was Arizona, there was a little curio shop. I saw this ring. It just knocked me over, the design of it. Man, it just fit like perfect.
Bunny and Guy bought a turquoise ring that Guy would wear forever. It wasn't long after that trip that my beautiful sister Bunny killed herself.
She ain't going nowhere, she's just leaving. She ain't going nowhere, she can't breathe in. She ain't going home, and that's for sure.
Guy wrote She Ain't Going Nowhere for Bunny.
And she ain't going home, and that's for sure.
It's his favorite song he ever wrote. I called Guy and asked him to come to Oklahoma for the funeral.
And that was very, very growing up. I'm not the only person that's gone through it, but it was serious. And it was, you know, I mean, it was very sad, and, you know, have your sister blow her brains out, you know. That stuff happens. It's just part of being alive, you know, and going through this vale of tears. Susanna and I kind of migrated to one another during all of these goings-on around Bunny's funeral. Susanna, for some reason, felt guilty about it. She thought it was her fault, you know.
We were heartbroken over Bunny's suicide, and Guy and I clung to each other. I was desperate to hold on to my sister, and Guy was the closest thing. In our grief over Bunny, we fell in love.
I was just overjoyed to run into a woman like Susanna who was smart, was gifted, you know, and did something about it. I mean, it was just true love, I guess, you know.
After Bunny died, everything changed. There were so many reminders of my sister in Oklahoma City. I just wanted to start over.
I was more than willing to move to Oklahoma City. All I wanted to do was be with her, and I don't care where it is, you know. So we just packed all her stuff in her car and my car and moved to Houston.
When I moved to Houston, I did not know what I was getting myself into. Our house was a gathering place for stoners that drop in and get high. I painted while Guy went to work at the TV station every day. It was a terribly lonesome time for me. Guy is a stoic West Texas hard-ass, but he'd been close to Bunny, and that was our bond. Townes came over one day, wrapped me in a bear hug, and said, "If Guy loves you, then so do I." While Guy was distant and distracted, I leaned on Townes. He was sweet and attentive.
And I'd been the art director for the CBS affiliate in Houston. You know, I was playing at night and trying to write songs, and I finally just snapped, you know, so I can't do this. I'm going to go be a songwriter. I'm 30 years old, and if I don't do this, I will regret it for the rest of my life, or probably kill myself, you know, just. And I had met a couple of guys from Los Angeles who were traveling around and looking for talent. So with just that much encouragement, Susanna and I packed up and drove the VW bus all the way to L.A.
We found a little guest house to rent in Long Beach. I painted and wrote songs. Guy painted and wrote songs too, and tried to get a publishing deal. He wanted to make his living as a songwriter.
I mean, when I first went to L.A. to try to get in the music business, I had no tapes. I would go to people's office and play my guitar for them, you know? And they were just like, wow, that's different.
After Townes followed us to Los Angeles to record an album, his girlfriend was murdered while hitchhiking around L.A. Townes was grief-stricken, and it reminded me of Bunny. We sat together on the beach for days and consoled each other. Guy finally landed a big publishing deal with RCA in Nashville. Outlaw songwriters gravitated to Tennessee to be a part of that scene.
It was the counterpart to Los Angeles in the way that a music mecca or city could be a community.
Chris Christopherson, Mickey Newberry, and Willie Nelson were just killing it with their poetic songs.
People started to see the impact of songs that weren't Little Darling songs, as they call them. There was a little more thoughtful kind of songwriting going on. And I think seeing those kinds of things happen is inspiring to people that aren't trying to put on a rhinestone outfit and have a career as a singer of country songs.
Townes followed us to Nashville. We dragged a used mattress from a grocery store dumpster for him to sleep on. Guy and I got married, and Townes was our best man. He was with us on our wedding night and lived with us for the next 8 months.
I think we might have gotten a pint of vodka or something, just because we didn't want to get too drunk.
Guy and I were married. Guy and Townes were best friends. But Townes and I were soulmates. Guy and Townes got the flu. They were such babies, so I took care of them. While they slept, I started painting the bouncing apple, but I ran out of white paint. Townes got some money from his publisher and bought paint for me. We didn't have money for food, but Townes wanted me to have paint. It's the most important I've ever felt.
And that was one of the reasons that they were such good friends, you know. He knew what was most important to Susanna.
Townes and I live in a mystical world, one that Guy doesn't understand. He gets mad at us when we talk over his head.
Yeah, one day in East Nashville, in the first little house we moved to, something had pissed me off about the way Townes and Susanna were denigrating my intelligence. And I was offended. So I proceeded to just quietly go get a hammer and some nails. I don't know, I just nailed myself in that front room.
So he nailed himself in the room, and he nailed the window shut too.
So he died.
Guy may have had a hissy fit, but he wrote Let Him Roll while he was in that room.
Just to let him roll. Lord, let him roll.
Guy and I, one time, we were living together in Nashville, and our house was infested by mice. We got this system down where a guy would get a broom, and I'd hide around the corner where the paper sat. The guy would chase the mice down the hall, and as soon as he hit the corner, he'd get up and lift the broom into the sack, right? And we had a sack full of, like, what, 8 mice. And we went down to a local pool room in Nashville, turned them loose on the pool table, and they'll, like, split for the pockets, right? And then some guys come up and started this game of 8-ball. And every time somebody would sink a ball in one of the pockets, you know, Susanna, Guy's wife, would start, oh, no, no. She, like, imagined all the little mice running down the street, you know, with an 8-ball right behind them. And we finally had to leave. We had to take Susanna home.
Yeah, we know how to have a good time, don't we? All right.
It was just after we said I do that I ever knew there was anyone but you. It was at one of those parties they give us newlyweds that I ever craved another man's bed. He told me he'd rather give his own life than take the love of his best friend's wife. Now we've lived this way for the last 1,000 years, measured with tears for my husband and his wife. Now he comes to visit and we all play cards and we study the peach trees in the backyard. Then 12 o'clock comes and he must depart. One is my soul and the other my heart. We were thrilled when Jerry Jeff Walker came through town and picked up a couple of guys' songs.
I go to New York and I said, I'm going to do the song on the finishing this project. I'm going to do Old Time Feeling. But you guys ought to listen to Guy Clark. He's really writing some good stuff. I said he wrote this other song called LA Freeway, and I played just that chorus. And they go, do that one. And I said, okay, I'll do them both. So I wound up doing Old Time Feeling and LA Freeway, and of course, the hit had the chorus, it had everything else.
Jerry Jeff put Guy on the map. LA Freeway was a hit, and Guy's career took off.
Susanna and I were living in Los Angeles when I was working at the Dobro factory. I was playing in a little string band at night. And about 4:30 in the morning, we're driving back to LA after the gig, falling asleep in the back of this old Cadillac. And I sat up and I looked around to see where we were. And I said, if I could just get off of this LA freeway without getting killed or caught. And started to go back to sleep. And I went, write that down. And I got Susanna's eyebrow pencil and a burger sack and wrote, if I can just get off this LA freeway without getting killed or caught, put it in my pocket and went back to sleep. And I carried that in my billfold, in my wallet for 2 years until we moved to Nashville. My only tip about writing or songwriting is if you have an idea, if you have a flash, write it down. Because if you don't, 5 minutes, you'll forget it.
Lukenbach, Texas is a sacred place for Guy. He loves to go to Lukenbach. One night, Guy described every detail of Lukenbach to our songwriter friend, Chips Moman.
And I was telling Bobby and Chips what a cool place Lukenbach, Texas was, because I was getting ready to go there. We were going, and y'all ought to just come with me. Come on, let's go. Okay, man, I'm with you.
Chips didn't come to Lukenbach with us. In fact, Chips never went to Lukenbach. But that didn't stop him from writing a song about it.
Let's go to Lukenbach, Texas, William Whalen and Boy.
Because it was such a well-rendered story.
This successful life we're living's got us feuding like the Hatfields and the Boys.
Lukenbach, Texas might be the song that defined that whole outlaw movement. That's one of those that everybody knows. You sing along. It's part of our DNA.
Out in Lukenbach, Texas, there ain't nobody feeling.
It was like I heard it and just went, oh, no, man, come on. I'm not offended by the fact that they did that. I don't think I am.
Actually, Guy never got over it. It was a missed opportunity. That song made millions. Songwriters with lofty ideals knew where to find Guy. He didn't care about mainstream music. His only desire was to write songs as great literature. Our house was a hippie poet salon.
So that was just a movable feast, to quote Hemingway. But Guy was really the center of it. I've always said he was the curator of what was good.
So the salon existed because we had no other way to figure out our audience was ourselves.
That is where Guy's creativity was at its best and at his finest. And he had a jeweler's eye in that moment and was a profound influence on me.
So we were just playing songs trying to impress each other because we had no other audience except ourselves. It makes for a jaded, tough audience. And I think sometimes it accelerated, you know, how good we got.
All right, good.
Guy wasn't in the business of harvesting stardom. He was in the business of harvesting art and harvesting poetry. And
listen to that song.
He could identify what was true and real and good and, you know, really insightful, incisive, true songs. Most everybody that I knew wanted to be around that.
All right.
I certainly did, because I wanted to learn about that.
We weren't trying to impress Guy as much as we were trying to impress Susanna. And the reason we felt that way is because Guy was trying to impress Susanna.
You know, Guy was the sun, and it's just all, you know, there were a lot of planets spinning around there, and you know, maybe Susanna was the sun sometimes, and Guy was the moon, and then Guy was the sun, and Susanna was the moon, and the rest of these artists would orbit around that.
They were both artists. They both carried themselves as artists. You know, we learned to write songs from Guy and Townes, but we learned how to carry ourselves as artists from Susanna.
She drank a lot. I mean, she drank heavy, you know. She was two-fisted, you know. She said, well, I'll show, you know, I'm hanging with Guy and Townes. I can drink as much as they do. You know, I can do as much blow as they do, you know. And I can be more lucid than they are. And she was fun. And she was painting. And she was a poet. And she just, you know, had like a magic wand in a way that tap you on the shoulders a couple of times with my magic wand, and you too will have the magic, and you too will be an artist, and you too will understand that art is the process. It's not the end result.
She was a great painter, but she wouldn't clean a brush. She'd let it dry and throw it away. You know, $100 brush, and I'm going, come on. She wouldn't wash a pan. She'd go buy a new $50 copper-clad frying pan, use it once, burn it, and throw it away. It's about the food, the nourishment. It's not about washing dishes. And that was it. You know, it's just like you can't argue with that, you know?
She was as no BS as Guy was. You know, they were the perfect pair, you know, and they're the kind of couple that you dream about being, in that it's not one or the other, it's always both.
Guy didn't care about hit songs, he cared about great songs. And those great songs landed him a record deal.
I had a stack of songs to draw from, and RCA was going to put out the record, and they brought some producer down from New York. I mean, he was a nice enough guy, but he was prissy and in charge. Two things I really don't get along with.
Well, it was all brand new for me. I'd never played with a drummer before I came to Nashville. You know, being in a recording studio was exciting. You know, to actually go in a studio and have a full band. And I always thought it sounded like shit, but it was exciting, you know.
But I finally just said, man, stop this right now. If you put this record out, I'll change my fucking name and do something else.
Guy was miserable making records the Nashville way. Guy was a folk singer. He cared about acoustic guitars and meaningful lyrics.
We just kind of scrambled around, Rodney and some friends, and kind of scabbed some demos that I had been doing and fixed them up, and just did it almost for nothing because we'd already spent all the money, you know, on the first album.
When Guy sang Desperados Waiting for a Train for Townes, Townes said, "Gone commercial, huh?" Guy could go in and sing a song in front of an audience and he wouldn't give a flying fuck. But if he sang it in front of Townes, Guy would be crazy until Townes gave the lordly okay. Townes was the yardstick. Old Number One painted a picture of Guy's childhood in the West Texas town of Monahans.
I mean, West Texas is really austere, and it's really beautiful. I really love the desert. I mean, it's like stunningly beautiful. at certain times, and it's also very harsh, cold, hot. But I think it shapes your character in a way that no other place in the world does. I mean, I saw stuff growing up that, you know, I wouldn't trade for anything. I've seen oil wells blow out, you know, like gushers. I could never forget the smell, you know, just raw, crude oil coming out of the ground or way over the derrick, you know, stuff like that. Tumbleweeds, sandstorms.
Guy came from tough stock. He lived like he was in some old Western movie. Badass grandmothers and an old wildcatter desperado named Jack Prigg, his best friend.
I just happened to run across this crusty old guy who drilled oil wells all over the world. I mean, the first wells in South America and the first wells in Iraq and Iran in the 20s. Never married, but wound up living at my grandmother's hotel. In World War II, my father was overseas, and this was who took me everywhere and taught me everything. Showed me how to whittle, took me to bars, taught me to drive. I jokingly say he was like my grandfather. He was kind of my grandmother's boyfriend, but he was like part of the family.
Both my grandmothers were just like tough as nails. My father's mother had her leg amputated on the kitchen table when she was 12 years old and wound up running this hotel in Monahans, Texas. And her husband was a drug addict and pharmacist is what they call himself. But, you know, and left when my father was 7, I think, never came back. She was just a little gray-haired church-going lady, and she bootlegged whiskey out of the back of her hotel. And the other one came from Kentucky in a covered wagon to the Indian Territory when she was 12 years old. And then I think they moved to San Antonio and dealt horses out of the back of a wagon. And she wound up back in Oklahoma and was a federal judge, you know, sent guys to the pen. Just like, wow.
There is something romantic about Texas, you know, and all of its glory and all of its debauchery. And Guy was the literary genius of it. His songs were literature.
Hole number 1 had great reviews, but did not sell.
I just wasn't cut out to do the Nashville country star thing. They found that out pretty quick.
It was a big deal when Dotsy recorded my song, I'll Be Your San Antone Rose. Suddenly, I was a hit songwriter, while RCA was still trying to get Guy off the ground.
She knew how to put a lot of heart into songs that were still kind of basic country songs that were pretty commercial. And so therefore, she was more successful at it than we were.
She just watched Townes and I go through all of this angst and artistic whatever that, you know, we were trying to write songs and make a difference. And she could just sit down and write anything off the top of her head and have a hit #1 song. You know, she said, now, is that what y'all were trying to do? You know, we're just like, oh, fuck. You know. She considered herself a painter who dabbled in songwriting. She had a guitar, but she never learned to tune it. This isn't about learning to play the guitar, it's about writing hit songs.
While Guy scrambled to make old #1 into something, Townes went back and forth between Nashville and Austin. When we were not together, Townes still called me every morning at 8:30. We talked about language and words and poetry and songs. More often than not, he'd read me his new poem of the day. Songs always had to work as a poem on paper first. Townes rule. On Christmas Eve, 1976, Townes came over. I got TR out to document our conversations.
You got a style to play. That's why I always wanted you to play on my records. That's style, that flat pick slap.
Hey, guy, you have never asked for my records.
Yes, I have.
Anyhow, every now. I would have been honored with them when he works. But you think you call me? You know, your best goddamn friend. You think call me, right? No.
Oh, Townes, sure.
You're too drunk to remember when I asked
Not my.
Nashville took some giant hops, give it a jump. They went from like Hank Snow, Johnny Cash to Will and James to you. And I had a terrible feeling I'm just gonna be jumped over for goddamn Lawrence Beltway. You know what I mean? That's bullshit.
Okay, we're going to turn this off now for a while while Mr. Van Zandt gets his breath. His name is right now Mr. Mudd. In a moment, it will be Mr. Gold. Hold on.
Hey, guy, maybe you give me a little, some little coaching sessions. Tell me what to do.
Okay.
I mean, real practical stuff, not theoretical stuff. Practical shit.
Real practical. Real practical.
Phone numbers to look up
Serious.
stuff.
I'll tell you honestly, if you're talking about doing serious business.
Well, I'm talking about mostly getting
me
my
too.
songs recognized and getting success to a point where I'll write more songs and, you know, be a songwriter and be nice and cool and have enough money to goddamn eat and get a car. You know what I mean?
I'll only tell you that, I'll try to say this in a way that's not weird and I'm really serious about it.
If you can say keep on doing what you're doing in a way that's not weird, you got my vote.
Exactly the opposite of that.
Should I just dress normal, right?
No, man, I ain't talking about dressing, talking, singing, doing. Hey, man, you insulted two of the cats that like would have flipped out to do something with you all night. One of which was Michael Brodsky and the other is Brian Ahern, man, who like produces Emmy, right, and everything. That night you argued with him all night? Sure you don't, but he does. Those two guys, you were running a number on them because you were drunk and crazy, right? Even that was the night you stood on your head, you know, like you were flipped out crazy.
Yeah, those people get drunk every so often.
All right, I'm here, but those guys, they were flipped out and they were trying to communicate to you that they really cared about what you were doing and that, like, it was really important not to do it half-assed.
Get you next year, TR, Christmas Eve.
Well, I'm 41, I have blue eyes, and I like fried chicken.
RCA had high hopes for Guy's next record, Texas Cookin'.
You know, I wrote it after I moved to Nashville because I couldn't get any real food. You know, you can't buy barbecue here. All they barbecue is pork, you know.
A few Texas radio stations got on board with the single, but RCA wanted a national hit on country radio, and it was not happening.
It's a hard thing to do, you know. I mean, where do you put a record like that? I mean, is that country or is that pop? You know, they don't really have a record bin to put that stuff in, and they don't really know what to do with it.
Oh, my boy, ain't that Texas cooking something?
Why didn't Guy Clark become a big star? You know, quote unquote. Well, I can tell you a story that to me illustrates it in a way. Guy had Old Number One out and was getting booked on Austin City Limits. So he said, come on, go down, let's go do Austin City Limits. Come sing harmony with me and play guitar.
Tonight, it's Texas Cookin' with Guy Clark.
The night before the shoot, which, you know, if somebody were thinking about stardom and you know, image projection, we'd all gone to bed, got some rest and got up and got on with the business of becoming a star. But Jerry Jeff came around the hotel and a couple of other yahoos, and we stayed up all night swapping songs.
Guy didn't care about pleasing the record label. He was passionate about the songs, and he was hell-bent on doing things his way. RCA dropped him.
His friends, me and his old man was like desperados waiting for a dream. Was like desperados waiting for a dream. Well, he's a drifter and a driller of oil wells and an old school man of the world.
He signed a deal with another major label, Warner Brothers, just down the street on Music Row.
need a wink, give me money.
I got real enamored of Warner Brothers and the whole scene Emmy Lou was in. The guys in LA were throwing money around like it was nuts, you know. I mean, I was spending $125,000 on an album, you know. It was just absolutely stupid.
Warner Brothers released the album Guy Clark. It bombed. I had a great year. Jerry Jeff Walker recorded my songs. Willie and Emmy used my paintings for album covers. Emmy Lou released Quarter Moon in a 10-Cent Town. That title came from a line in Easy From Now On, which is the song I wrote with Carlene Carter.
It's gonna be easy from now on.
Guys seemed resentful at my success. Emmy and Rodney were getting a lot of attention with their records. Guy wanted some of that.
When the new wave post-punk rock thing hit, and I thought, oh boy, we got to get some edge. So I sought out Craig Leon, and we made But What Will the Neighbors Think?
Rodney's a drummer. He loves drums. He loves the sound of drums. He plays drums. And he loved the drum sound that Craig Leon got on his record, and consequently just pushed me in that direction, you know, and okay, I don't know, you know, anything about drums, but if you say so. So once again, that was that kind of situation, man. If you put this out, I'll split, I'll change my name, I'll do anything, but this is not right. I can't, in good conscience, live with this kind of production.
Once again, Guy scrapped an entire record. He turned to Rodney to produce the South Coast of Texas.
And once again, we just scraped and stole studio time and, you know, just anything we could do to get this record made. Rodney was going to produce it, and everything was going to be different.
We made South Coast of Texas, I think, in 3 days. And that was the first, and also Sweet Vince Gill came in and he and I did the background vocals, and I thought it was a really fine record. I think the record company appreciated it to some degree. I'm not sure they knew how to market a poet of Guy's caliber.
Oh, the South Coast of Texas, that's a thin slice of life.
In the 5th grade, Guy moved to Rockport. That's a little fishing town on the south coast of Texas.
I think it was always kind of wonderful. It was a really small town. My graduating class was 46. And, you know, everybody knew everybody and seemed like, you know, idyllic. You know, I played football and basketball, ran track. I was on the student council and, you know, all of that social stuff that happens in high school. My father was a lawyer and my mother worked as the secretary. She had such an amazing encyclopedia of stuff she could do. One of them was reading poetry after dinner. And my mother considered herself a very good interpreter of that kind of stuff. I'm sure a lot of it stuck with me. I tend to get a little dramatic.
In the cars of my youth, how I tore through those sand dunes and cut up my tires on them oyster shell roads. But nothing is forever, say the old men in the shipyards, turning trees into shrimp boats. Hell, I guess they ought to know.
I was in high school working in a shipyard. They're building big 80-foot wooden shrimp boats. That fascinated me. I mean, if you look at the lines of a wooden boat, you know, the way it just curves around, that is just such an art. I remember telling my parents one time that I wanted to be a carpenter in the shipyard. I decided what I was going to do. Yeah, that was very cool.
Lola Bonner was Ellis Clark's law partner. She taught Guy to play guitar.
She played guitar, and she was South Texas born and bred, and all she knew was Mexican songs. And the first time I saw her was out at Hondo Crouch's sister's place on the beach. And I was just taken with that first time of seeing Hondo and Lola and everybody just passing the guitar around, playing, trading songs. I was hooked from that day on.
The South Coast of Texas came out, and not long after that, Guy's father died.
He had a bad heart, and he smoked and drank all his life, you know. He slowly started losing his memory. He just got weaker and weaker. We knew he was dying, and I was driving from Nashville to Rockport, and I got to Beeville, I think. Just was worried and called my mother, and I talked to him, and he was, all of a sudden, he was very lucid. And it was a conversation that kind of healed any hard feelings that might have been between he and I. We were back in Nashville, and I started writing this poem. I didn't think of it as a song. I mean, I couldn't make it a song. I couldn't twist it into a song.
On his next album, Guy recorded Randall Knife to honor his father.
That was one of the few arguments Rod and I ever got into about music was he was producing the record, and we had a full band in the studio. I mean, you know, A players. And we did the Randall Knife, and I told Rodney right then, I said, man, this is not a song you play with drums. We can't do this. And Rodney said, well, I want it to sound like the rest of the record.
That was not my finest hour as a producer, I don't think. And I think it may have been a turning point for Guy in that kind of the methodology of recording tracks with musicians and then having, you know, the lead artist come back and dub in their vocals. That's not how you want to record Guy Clark, because he's an actor and a narrator and his performer. If anything positive came out, besides there being a record in the world with those songs on it, is that I think he decided what he wanted to do from then on.
My father died when I was 40. I couldn't find a way to cry. Not because I didn't love him, not because he didn't try. I'd cried for every lesser thing, for whiskey, pain, and beauty. But he deserved a better tear, and I was not quite ready. So we took his ashes out to sea, poured them off the stern, and then threw the roses in the wake of everything we'd learned. And when we got back to the house, they asked me what I wanted. Not the law books, not the watch. I need the thing he's haunted. Oh, my hand burned for the Randall knife there in the bottom drawer. And I found a tear for my father's life and all that it stood for.
Warner Brothers dropped Guy from the label. Guy was okay with the decision. He'd recorded 5 albums with 2 major labels, and he hadn't been happy with any of them. Guy was finished chasing hits, he was finished playing with the band, and he was finished with the music business. He had no idea what he was going to do next, but he knew it was time to do things his way.
Yeah, I wanted it to be good. I knew the songs were good, and I knew I could play them because I wrote them. But I hadn't just stood up there with just me and my guitar in a long, long time. I quit and started over. For once, I was right, I guess. You know, I figured out that's what I wanted to do, and all you got to do is just do it. Nobody says you can't. So Here I am, a folk singer.
Smart choice. Guy choosing the path of a folk singer and choosing a method of recording in the tradition of folk singers, which is elbow the drums out, clear everything out of the way so you can hear the words. Because that's, that was Guy coming to understand, his strength.
He knew what he wanted to be. He knew how he wanted to sound. Every word mattered in every song, and so that's clarity, at its best.
Never did write hit songs for country music radio. And I never was a country singer. I'm still not a country singer. I just write songs and play them. I'm Guy Clark.
Guy and Townes hit the road with their guitars. They were playing together like they did back in the Houston days, but he didn't record again for 5 years.
Visiting this morning with Townes Van Zandt and Guy Clark. You have any record in the works also of your own besides other people?
Well, I'm kind of in the process of trying to write some songs for one. I mean, that's the hard part.
You have a contract at the moment?
No.
Or you just pedal it once it's done?
No, I'll just do it and then see what happens. Maybe just pedal it myself.
He came to me in the hallway one day and said, "Man, I got to make my comeback record." And he said, "And I ain't got no money, and you're just the guy that can help me." And
for the first time since Old Number One, the songs took the starring role. Guy was so happy about this album that he put his self-portrait painting on the cover. He took the album to Barry Poss at Sugar Hill Records.
So normally we wouldn't do a one-off. We like to work with artists over time, developing careers. But the chance to work with Guy Clark, even for one album, was different. His music, I think, went right to the heart of what I wanted the label to be about to begin with.
Guy put my song, Come From the Heart, on his first Grammy-nominated album.
When I was a young man, my daddy told me.
And the identity, the statement that I wanted came from roots-based contemporary music, now called Americana. And I think Guy Clark not only fit that aesthetic perfectly, he helped define it.
You got to sing like you don't need the money, love, like you'll never get hurt. You got to dance like nobody's watching. It's got to come from the heart if you want it to work.
Come From the Heart had a life of its own, and several people cut it, but Kathy Mattea made it a monster hit.
Oh, you got to sing, sing like you don't need the money, love, like you'll never get hurt. You got to dance, like nobody's watching. It's got to come from the heart if you want it to work.
After I got my royalties from Come From the Heart, I left Guy. I still loved him, but I had stuff to work out, and I couldn't do it living with Guy.
She'd had enough of my bullshit, and she just rented herself an apartment. That was it. I wouldn't have thought that she had her shit together enough to do that. And I think she was proving a point that she didn't have to depend on me for everything.
She was reclaiming a part of herself that she'd lost in a marriage. But Susanna, during that time period, she was more healthy than I recall her ever being. And she was going to therapy and doing a lot of, self-affirming things. And was a delight to be around. And said, I'm done with marriage.
I gave Guy a comfortable place to be so he could be an artist. I poured love into him. I spoiled him to the point where he thought he could get away with anything. I tended to what he needed, and I did that until I realized that it wasn't being returned.
Rodney had a relationship with Susanna that was separate from his relationship with Guy, so did I, and Townes certainly did. The relationship between Townes and Susanna was something that nobody really talked about it because it was a little too intimate to be in the same room with sometimes, it seemed, and probably brought up questions nobody really wanted to know the answer to because it sort of blew their whole idea about the whole rest of it, you know, Guy and Susanna, and, you know, as an entity.
Townes and his wife split up, and he spent a lot of time at my place. Townes served me breakfast in bed, always with flowers. Sometimes he'd tell those terrible jokes of his. Sometimes he'd cry, and sometimes I'd cry for him. After supper, we'd drink wine and watch reruns on Nick at Night. It was a sweet and loving time. Rodney and his wife, Roseanne, broke up too. And then Rodney and I got close.
I loved Susanna, you know, and she taught me how to be a friend, but it evolved into a real, true friendship.
What do you think, Miss Clark?
Well, they just didn't have any tacos, and I'm kind of disappointed. That's all I think right now. Hello there, Rod.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Ain't nobody talking to you today.
No, I don't know why either. I guess it's my snorkel.
I'm so proud to be here at Miss Julia's and Mr. B's wedding.
Me too.
Yeah, are you? Yeah, you're doing a good job, Rod. Yeah. I take... Bye, Rod.
So, this is just about it. Right now.
Emmylou, now listen to me. Now I want to tell you something. Don't slit your throat or break your fingers when you hear me sing and play, because there's room for all of us in this world. I know. Now just listen closely and you might learn something, okay? I mean, you don't have to start digging ditches or nothing like that. There's room for all of us. Okay.
Portion of the Susanna Clark Hour. It's brought to you by Tequila Cuervo 1800, product of Mexico.
Gibson guitars and Carlton cigarettes.
Yeah. This is the Grand Ole Uproar.
Oh.
You know, Susanna was a lot of work for any one person, and Guy figured out early on that he was never going to be able to keep her unless somebody else held up some of the took up some of the slack. So he gave her room for those relationships.
While we were apart, Guy focused on his work, and Travis joined him on the road.
Travis is a great bass player. You know, he reads Count Basie charts. He's a really well-schooled bass player. So I thought, well, that'd be cool. Get Travis to be my bass player. I mean, we played together really good. We sang together well.
Asylum Records released 2 successful albums. Guy became a star in the new Americana genre.
I want to sing you a couple of new songs you never heard. It's called the Dublin Blues. Well, I wished I was in Austin, in the chili parlor bar, drinking Mad Dog margaritas and not caring where you are. But here I sit in Dublin, just rolling cigarettes, holding back and choking back the shakes with every breath. So forgive me all my anger, forgive me all my faults. There's no need to forgive me for thinking what I thought. I loved you from the get-go, and I'll love you till I die. I loved you on the Spanish Steps the day you said goodbye. I am just a poor boy. Work's my middle name. If money was a reason, well, I would not be the same.
This was a time when Americana music was thriving, and there was an independent business to support all that up and down the chain. I mean, there were labels to record the music, there were stores to sell it, there were booking agents and managers to place the artists in clubs, and there were festivals to perform at. All of this making independent careers for people like Guy very possible.
In the spring of '95, Dublin Blues shot to the top of the Americana chart. It was Guy's first #1 album. He was the coolest songwriter in town. The label threw a party to celebrate, and all of Music Row showed up to honor Guy. I still loved Guy, and he loved me. We'd been apart for 6 years, but once we got back together, we promised to stay together forever. After all those years of struggle, our dreams had come true.
I got a woman I love, she's crazy and paints like God.
We were together and on top of the world.
Got a playground sense of justice, she won't take odds. I got a tattoo with her name right through my soul. I think everything she touches turns to gold. Stuff that works, stuff that holds up, the kind of stuff you don't hang on the wall. Stuff that's real, stuff you feel, the kind of stuff you reach for when you fall.
With all the praise surrounding Guy as a songwriter, Rounder Records released a greatest hits album and called it Craftsman. Guy hated that title.
I should have put a stop to that craftsman shit because I consider it poetry and art. But I just said, whatever you want to do, you know, it's your deal. You're putting these records out. I would never use that term applied to my writing. I'm kind of offended by it.
In the fall of '96, Guy recorded his first live album. He called it Keepers.
I've always wanted to do a live album, and what I did was to go back to those early albums and do live versions of those songs that I do every night. That I never particularly liked the way they were recorded originally.
Guy just gathered up his little studio buddies that, you know, worked with him. It was packed every night. We sat in the middle of the room, and Jerry Douglas would sit right here over my shoulder, and the next night it would be Emmy Lou, and the next night it would be somebody else, but they were right on top of us. And man, Guy was, I still like that record about as much as anything he ever did. It just, he was really having fun that night.
How do you want the general public or people listening to this to think of you?
As a good songwriter and a good singer of my own songs. I'd like everybody to think I'm as good as I think I am, you know.
I may be a lonely schizophrenic, but at least I got each other.
Guy and Townes went back on the road together and sold out shows everywhere they went. But Townes was in bad shape.
Townes always said he wanted to come to my house to die, so I sold it to him.
It's not what.
Stop breaking the old ship. Stop me.
But I do remember a few times with Guy and Townes. Once in Santa Fe, particularly, they were playing there. Susanna wasn't there.
Yeah, give me one too.
Townes was so drunk that Joe Harvey and I kind of walked him down these stairs and back up the stairs and whatever. But Townes did a horrible set. He maybe got through a couple of songs and told endless stories, but barely could stay on his stool. Then Guy played a really kind of pristine set, really beautiful set. But I remember downstairs sitting with, Townes was sitting down, and Guy and I were kind of over in Guy's area, the dressing area. And there were about 15 people that were around Townes shoving dope and shoving liquor at him. And it was like vultures, you know. And I remember Guy and I both kind of watching it. And he just said, it happens everywhere we go, you know, everywhere we go. And it was like, you know, die for me, you know, die for me, you know.
They had to learn to tolerate Townes in some ways. I mean, it all evolved around getting drunk, you know, and just being as big a jerks as we could figure out how to do it. And I finally just got to the point where I couldn't do it with him because I had Susanna and I had responsibilities. I had a commitment with the publishing company, you know. That was just the way he was, and there was nothing you could do about it.
Okay. Well, that's how, I mean, you know, he's a good boy, but he's got a chemical fucking imbalance that's killing him. I think he's done himself in. God damn, I don't know what to do. Nothing. You can't do nothing. There's nothing we can do about it. I love him so much. And I hate it. It just tears me up. God damn, I'd like to knock these fucking little bones right down them stairs. Lock him in that room for a year and a half. Feed him chicken pot pies and get him over it. But I can't take care of Townes too because it just tears my God out. I love him more than life itself, and he loves me too. He was the best man at our wedding, and he was the best man at our wedding. Has been for 25 years. Thank God, God put me on this earth at the same time Townes Van Zandt was. Townes wants to die. That's the deal. Townes wants to. I don't want him to yet, but I need to prepare myself for his death, and I never will. I won't turn on this damn tape recorder. I want to enjoy his ass till he dies. Always have, always will. Is it on? Is that rolling?
Is it rolling, Bob?
Yeah, that one. Anything you have to say?
Listen, Guy, I don't know if I'll ever see you again, but knowing you has been one of the...
No, we're talking to Guy. No, we're not talking to Guy. Oh, go ahead. Whatever.
This morning, 8:30 came and went. The phone didn't ring. Townes Van Zandt died on January 1st, 1997. Part of me died with him. Last night, Guy called from the studio. He was crying and said, "My heart hurts." I asked if there was anything I could do for him. Guy said, "Say it ain't so." Townes' words were always gentle and loving, but like in his songs, mighty words they were.
He's looking for a home, but he's scared to find some lady beside him. And he drunk on white wine. Some lady beside him, and he's drunk on white wine.
I had the honor and the privilege of having this noble, wild soul in my life. He called me his best friend and sister. I called him my best friend and brother.
When Townes died, Susanna called me. So I went over and we sat at the table. And guy had a bottle of Johnny Walker Red, I think, a quart, and he was hurting. You know, he was drinking whiskey, and you know, when the pain is so deep, it's that moan, it's that timeless moan, pain, you know, and Susanna was, you know, that conversation was, you know, it's over. You know, she was just saying it's over. And Guy was just trying to deal with the pain. So Susanna surrendered something that night.
Oh, it really destroyed her. And it did me too, to a certain extent, but she was very grievous at Townes' death.
Mr. Rodney Crowell.
Thank you. Then shortly after that, we did an Austin City Limits performance, a bunch of us. And that night, Susanna told me I have a pain in my back. And from then on, there was this mythical pain in Susanna's back that I, you know, as time went on, I started to argue with her about the pain in her back, and I started to not believe that there was a pain in her back, and I started this thing about, well, you know, a lot of people have had pain in their back, and they get enough of it, and I know I can give you 3 or 4 people who went and got surgery and corrected the pain. But Susanna wanted the pain pills.
Dear Townes, it's been 13 days since your soul was released, and your spirit now flies. Please visit me. I taught you of angels, and you taught me of time, so come to me now in my dreams. Carry me with you. Let love guide me as it did you. Love, Susanna.
That back pain set in, and she went to bed and didn't get up.
I mean, it was tough. It was just hard to see her dissolve into that kind of existence, you know, because it was not productive. It was not, I don't know, it was sad, very sad.
You know, I tried everything, but I was no match for what she had decided she wanted to do, which is she wanted to die slowly, and she did. The guy paid a high price for that, and I was angry at her. She quit on me, she quit on Emmy, she quit on Guy, she quit on herself, and I was really angry about it, and it brought out, you know, some of my worst traits. Then, you know, there would be times when I'd think, well, I gotta go and sit next to her and breathe her cigarette smoke and tell her I love her, because I do. Yeah, it's like, yeah, well, I wasn't getting anything back.
I continued to spiral down as Guy's star kept rising. Keepers was nominated for a Grammy. Guy recorded 2 more albums for Sugar Hill. ASCAP gave him a Lifetime Achievement Award for songwriting. NSAI put him in the Songwriter Hall of Fame, and then the Americana Music Association gave him another Lifetime Achievement Award.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you so much.
If I could write, if I knew how to write the next Garth Brooks hit, I would do it in a second, man. I mean, really, wouldn't you? But the whole thing is, which I've come to realize, I can't do it, man. But if I could, I would. You know, I'm just cursed with artistic integrity.
I have been to Fort Worth. And I have been to Spain. And I have been too proud to come in out of the rain. And I have seen the David. I've seen the Mona Lisa too. And
I have heard Doc Watson play Columbus Stockade Blues. So forgive me all my hurt, forgive me all my faults. There's no need to forgive me for thinking what I thought. And I loved you from the get-go, and I love you till I die. I loved you on the Spanish Steps the day you said goodbye. Well, I wished I was in Austin. In the chili parlor bar, drinking Mad Dog margaritas and not caring where you are.
In 2006, Guy was diagnosed with lymphoma. He started chemotherapy, lost his hair, and was worried about making money. But we hung in there, and he continued to work. Guy signed with Dual Tone Records and recorded workbench songs. 3 years later, he released Some Days the Song Writes You. Both albums were nominated for Grammys. Guy wrote a new song for me. It's the best song he ever wrote for me. He would bring his guitar into the bedroom every day, sit on the bed, and play it.
Yeah. I always had this little Polaroid that was always my favorite picture of Susanna, and it was just, we were in front of John Lomax's house over on 21st. It was cold, wet, and we'd been in there, and Townes and I were just drunk and being assholes. And, she finally had enough, and she just got up and left, put on her coat and walked outside. I mean, like I said, she didn't take a bad picture, but that one somehow captured the essence of her. That is Susanna. She had this look on her face. I've seen 1,000,000 times, but that day she had had enough.
My favorite picture of you is the one where your wings are showing. When your arms are crossed, your fists are clenched, not gone but gone. Oh, stand up, angel, we won't back down. Nobody's fool, nobody's clown. You're smarter than that. My favorite picture of you is the one where it hasn't rained yet. Oh, as I recall, there came a winter squall and we got soaking wet. 1,000 words in the blink of an eye. The camera loves you, and so do I. Rick. My favorite picture of you is the one where you're staring straight into the lens.
Life without Susanna started when Townes Van Zandt died. From that day on, she hid out undercover, her Percocets and cigarette along for the ride. She made her bed, inside her head a shelter, each new day a sliver through the blinds. I tried tough love, tenderness, and anger, but nothing pierced the fortress inside her mind. She won. She got the last word.
And I miss her sense of humor and her intelligence, just how talented she was. She could paint, she could write. Good Lord, what a beautiful woman. Smart. But she wouldn't clean her fucking brushes. It's true, it was a mythical love story. I wouldn't disabuse anyone of that. It's just, you had to be there to, to get it, you know.
It was kind of a slow collapse. Well, he and Verlon came through. They were so tired. And Guy could barely walk. They just slept for 3 days and then left. And it was the first time that I remember it just being really telling that it was a difficult run for them.
You know, I kept wanting Guy to quit long before he did. And now, looking back on it, I realized that was probably stupid of me because, you know, when a man quits, he's done. And so Guy was staying out there as long as he could possibly stay out there. And he was having a real hard time playing and pretty hard time singing, too. They finally sent us on a 12-day run. It was all across Texas. We started in Abilene, Fort Worth, Dallas, San Antonio. We wound up in Beaumont. And I knew, and I believe that he knew too, that it couldn't go on. We got in the car the next morning and drove back to Nashville. You know, pretty quiet ride, nothing much said. Got back to the house, he picked up the phone right then and there, and he called our booking agent, and he said, "Keith, don't book me nothing else. I'm done." Click. And Guy just leaned back, and he started rolling a cigarette, and he goes, "Let's recap." And I said, "What do you mean?" We just started talking about from day one, all the stuff we did, and the places we'd gone, and so I walked out of there feeling okay about it, you know.
It means more to me now than I thought it would. I mean, I thought I'd just blow this shit off. It was kind of ironic, you know, to do this for 40 years, finally win, I guess, the best award you can get for it, and not be able to do it anymore.
He was working on this song about crows. I remember he had a line I loved that was, they were so black you could only see them at night, you know. He was really, I think, talking about his own vulnerability at that particular time. I called Rodney, and Rodney said, "Well, if you're coming, you better come now, you know, now."
I'd been over there, I guess, a couple of days, pretty much all day long, and people were coming by, and people gathered around his bed and sang songs. It was a beautiful thing. Everything had sort of wound down, and people had gone home, and I felt like this might be it, you know. I decided to stay there, too, all night. I just was going to sit in the recliner and just hang out, and it felt right. that I was there, and it was a blessing. Glad I was. He finally just kind of took a big old deep breath, and I knew he was gone. The subject came up about Guy's ashes. And I had heard about this, but I didn't know if it was for real, that there had been some sort of pact between Guy and our dear old buddy, Terry Allen. He said, I want Terry to put me into one of his sculptures. And I thought maybe that was a joke, but earlier that morning, I had talked to Terry on the phone after Guy passed, and he said, no, it ain't a joke, and it's for real.
You know, I never took that totally serious. My response ultimately was, okay, I'm gonna cast a goat. I'm gonna do a bronze goat, and I'm gonna take your ashes, and I'm gonna shove it up its ass. And Guy looked at me and went, perfect. Yeah.
And then we got a call just almost instantly that everybody was going to come out to our house.
I said, if it's okay, if it's legal, and if it's okay with everybody, I'd like to just take Guy out there myself. I said, I'll put him in the car, and it'll be our final road trip. The next thing you know, there's 8 or 10 of us on a tour bus, and those of us that couldn't ride the bus met us there.
Everybody just stopped their lives and headed for Santa Fe.
You know, we took Guy's ashes there, and we got there at sunset the next day, and it was the most beautiful land-based sunset I've ever seen. I give Guy full credit for that.
We set up a little makeshift altar in our living room and put the ashes there with a candle. People just ended up going into the living room and just standing, looking at Guy.
And nobody said a word for a long time. And then, just one at a time, everyone started telling some wonderful story about their experiences with Guy.
Steve Earle, he went and got his guitar and said, let's all do a song that Guy would want us to sing. People took turns singing songs. It was just one of those nights, you know, and then everybody left and went back, you know, back into their lives. And there I was standing with, you know, the soon-to-be goat.
His command of the language is universal. It just happens to be thematically specific, most of the time, to Texas. Texans really love their heroes, and Guy is a true blue Texas hero.
He was a powerful figure with an enormous presence, but all that larger-than-life bigness actually came wrapped in a man of quiet grace and elegance.
He had this eye for detail and this memory for detail. I mean, I don't think it'll matter whether it's set to music or whether it's not. Guy's best songs transcend being songs. They could have been novels, could have been short stories.
I'm pretty sure they'll say he's one of the greatest American songwriters that ever lived.
A legacy is already in stone, even before he left. You know, I don't know that it's changed. To me, it was every bit as much of a legacy in the mid-'70s as it was 40-plus years later. All those stories, all those characters, all of those things, they were powerful to me because they felt familiar.
You still feel like he's with us all the time. He seems to be present. And you don't know if he's an angel or a ghost. You know, it's just that song of his, stuff that's real, stuff you feel, stuff that you can count on, you know, when you're down or when you fall.
One day I looked up and he's pushing 80. And
has brown tobacco stains all down his chin. Well, to me, he's one of the heroes of this country. So why is he all dressed up like them old men? Drinking beer and playing Moon and 42, just like a desperado waiting for a train. Like desperados waiting for a train.
Will build a barbed wire nest in a windmill derrick way out west. Scooping up scraps down a long fence line. It was a work of art, the only one of its kind. Way out around up against the John Crow flies. Old Hagel and Jekyll built a sky-high rise. So cold jet black, you can see him at night in the Cactus Jack. Murder of crows, two old birds make a murder of crows. Everyone knows that anything goes. Old Hagel and Jack will make a murder of crows. Catching maybe rattlesnakes 2 by 2. We're gonna make a little part of that rattlesnakes too. Little baby rattlesnakes better watch out. Old Hagel and Jack are steady out and about. Murder of crows, two old birds will make a murder of crows. Everyone knows that anything goes. Old Hagel and Jack will make a murder of crows. Scarecrow standing in a tall corn patch. Hagel and Jekyll got nary a scratch. Eating like kings nearly all day long. Dodging that buckshot, singing that song. Call blues, call blues. 10 against 20 if you count by twos. Bob Palace full of magpie chicks. Old Hagel and Jekyll steady getting their kicks. Murder of crows, two old birds will make a murder of crows. Everyone knows anything goes. Old Hagel and Jack will make a murder of crows. Danny's in the kitchen in his everyday shoes, sitting down singing at